Hello and welcome to Items On, the podcast where you get to follow your favorite Melee players and personalities, both on and off the sticks. I'm Ethiopium, and today our special guest is HomeMadeWaffles. How you doing today, homie?
Yo, I'm blessed to be here, man. How about you?
Dude, living the dream. I can't complain, man. Usually how we start these episodes is we get into what were you doing before you played Smash and how did you find the scene?
Okay. So you want me to answer that now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. What I was doing, I was in high school when I started. So I was in high school. I didn't have the greatest track record in high school. So, Melee, it like didn't help in a lot of ways, but it did help in a lot of ways. And then I found Melee in my sophomore year of high school. I don't know if you know what Chokenator is, but well, first off, my friend Jamie Park. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's a Yoshi player.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up together. We lived across the street from each other, and he was always into competitive, like just Smash and gaming in general. And then in high school, he like found people. Just I don't even know how he just knew these people, but he found them, and then that's how we ran into Chokenator. And he would he knew how to just laser and wave dash and do all this stuff. Like it felt like he was moving at like 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And then that was like the first time I was really exposed to like somebody who knew what they were doing. And Chokenator is he's been around in the scene for days. Modesto legend, like he's still I think he has a kid now. He plays casually here and there and stuff, but he's always been just really good at the game. And
so what year was this?
This was 2006.
Where?
Well, 2005 I was like exposed to it, but like I didn't start going to tournaments till like summer 06, like early 07. That's when I really started going to events.
And what was that like? Like your first tournament experience?
Oh man, it was crazy. Like so I lived in Modesto, California, and they used to have the tournament. The first tournament I ever went to was called the Gaming Edge. That was the name of the place, and it was like this gaming venue. It was black owned too, which is pretty wild.
That's sick.
And it was across town. So I lived on the west side. I don't know if you could, like, on this part, put a map of Modesto, but there's like, if you Google Modesto, like the city, or like if you Google it in maps, it'll say Modesto and then West Modesto. So I'm not like born and raised there, but that's where I went to high school. So like I lived in the west side of Modesto, and you'll see West Modesto. And then the tournament had to be on like the northeast, northwest side of town. So it was across town, which was like for me pretty far because I never really left like my block. You know what I mean? So it was just like, whoa, we went all the way across here for a tournament. It's crazy. Like, no one really, we go on this side of town because like the mall is over there, like doctor's appointments, stuff like that. But like, we never, like for just something recreational was kind of crazy. I guess the mall is, but it was a different vibe. But then the craziest part was like meeting people that came from Stockton, Sacramento, like San Francisco, Oakland. Like it was crazy. I'm like, damn, y'all came all the way out here for this. And like, we played, and they didn't really seed back then. So even though I wasn't the worst player there, I still went 0-2. I played Fox in my first tournament. Even though I was like a Doc main, or I was juggling between Mario and Doc. And I felt like they were too bad for me to use, and I sucked with them. So I just didn't do it. So I played Fox because I was like, oh man, maybe, he's good enough to where I could probably beat somebody. And then I just went 0-2. And it's funny because I used to, the first round I played this dude named Oni. He was like he was the best player in the city called Turlock before Mac D's from there. And like that's who like Mac D overthrew later on. But like at that time, Oni was like always the best. Cool dude, man. I always think about like he's one of the few people I think about like where's he been? You know what I mean? Like how like hope he's doing well. But I played him first round, got destroyed, and then I had to play my boy Jamie Park, who he at the time he was just way better than me, so he cleaned me up. And it was fun though. It was fun, like just experiencing the whole thing.
Oh, I got a question for you then. Were you playing video games like that before Melee, or was this like your first foray into video games in general, like at least from a competition side?
Oh, competitively for sure. Yeah, I never had touched anything competitive, but like I've been playing games my whole life, but it was always like one player games, sports games, stuff like that. Like we played some Street Fighter or whatever, but I never known about like there was just a competitive scene where people go and travel. Like that concept to me was wild. But I loved it. I thought it was super cool because I always wondered like, yo, I wonder what's the best player in New York or, you know, stuff like that. Like, it was cool to see like all these people come from different areas, from different backgrounds to just play a game. I thought that was like one of the most fascinating parts about it. But yeah, I never really had played anything competitive before Melee.
Word. Yeah. I'm interested like a little bit in the timeline because you're saying that this is around 2006, right?
Yeah, around there.
Were you just like after this tournament, were you like, yo, I'm sticking with this community, like I dig Melee, I dig the people, I dig the tournaments, or did it take a little bit for you to get like really inundated into the scene?
Well, it started small. Like it wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, these are like I didn't know those people well enough, right? But I knew Jamie. And a Chokenator's name is Andre. You cool if I use their real names?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want, bro.
Yeah,
it's all good.
But yeah, so like I knew Jamie and Andre, right?
Yeah.
It's particularly Jamie because we lived across the street. So if Jamie went to a tournament, it was easy for me to go, right? Because I could just go across, you know, get the ride, boom, I'm there.
Yep.
I get to go. I know I'm going home. So like whenever he would go to stuff, that's when I would go to stuff. And then I just got it more exposed. And like I wasn't into the scene as much as he was. I just liked getting out of the West Side and just doing something else.
Yeah.
And then eventually like it kind of like because like when you go to tournaments, I was listening to the Phil podcast he had and like how he was saying like you just eventually run into the same people. And then that's kind of what happened. You see a face here and there, and then you'll see another familiar face. You're like, oh, you know, and then you build rapport with those people. But yeah, it just kind of happened over time, I feel like. But I did like the game. I'm not gonna say like it wasn't like a mission to be around the community, but it definitely was like a goal to go to the next tournament. I kind of took it day by day and then looked back and I was like, damn, I've been playing for like 6 months, 7 months, a year, you know?
Yeah. That's how it goes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yo, it's interesting that you were talking about earlier how, you know, you weren't really traveling to the other side of town for leisure, you know, and now it's opening up. You're finding people, like you said, from Sacramento, Oakland, from different places. Was that sort of the, was that a part of the allure of being in the Smash scene a little bit, like broadening your horizons in some sense?
A little bit, maybe unconsciously, but a little bit. Cause you just like say you see a video of somebody and see back then, like now you have, when you watch a video, you got the players, you got like the player cams and the gameplay and all that. But back then it was just gameplay. So you didn't know what any of these people looked like, right? So it's just like, you know, now you see people, I'll just throw some, like, you know, Phil, Scar, Toph, you know what these people look like. But back then you just saw their gameplay. So I'm like, I didn't know who these people were until I'm like, oh, that's like, I remember like one of the first top players I ever like seen in person was the King and Isaiah. And I'm like, oh, that's Isaiah. Like, you know, because I couldn't put a face to the name for so long, you know, I'm like, oh, that's the King, you know, and then eventually over time, like, you know, it just got, I guess, more and more familiar.
Yeah.
Can you repeat what you asked me again? I forgot.
No, you answered it, bro. You answered
Okay,
it.
yeah, I thought I did. I'm like, wait.
No, you good. I want to ask you another question because you said you entered, with the first tournament as Fox. I remember you had a doc back in the day. That was that your first real main, right? The young Kobe Bryant, right?
Yeah, that was my main. Even back then, I just didn't have confidence in my doc at all because nobody was really playing doc. Plus, I had been practicing tech with Fox. For some reason, I thought I would do better with Fox. I was totally wrong. And then I switched to doc and just did better. And I played doc from then to probably another 5 years.
Well, I didn't know it was that long.
4 or 5 years, yeah.
When did you start being more of a head figure, do you think, in the scene? Not even a head figure, but being more involved with the streaming, with the traveling, because it's obvious you're a pillar of the community today. That has to start somewhere. Where do you think that started for you?
I think probably 2008, 2009. That's when a lot of stuff changed. You got to think what was it a lot of stuff happened around that year, the financial crisis thing that happened. I graduated high school that year in 2008. Obama became president. What else happened? And then Brawl came out. That all happened in a 6 month span. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
And I think from there, just all that changed at once. A lot of people quit Melee. To focus on other things. Some people went to other schools in different regions. Some people focused on Brawl. And for me, it was all right, man. I had been recording videos for a while because I don't know what gravitated me to it. I just like the idea of collecting footage. I just thought it was always good to keep those moments. I would watch sets and be like, damn, this set is fire, bro. Why is nobody recording this? And I just took it upon myself to do it because I felt like nobody was doing it.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of how that shit just spiraled. I think it just I didn't think people would gravitate towards it though. I didn't think people would know me for that thing. At the time, it was just kind of I just did it as a way to keep memories. It might be one of the smartest things I've ever done as far as foresight.
Yeah.
It went further than I even expected it, but I just thought it'd be nice to have footage to just watch for a memory, or you want to watch your matches, you want feedback. It's hard to just get have stuff, but the idea of content wasn't a thing back then. Now it's that's standard now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just doing that at that time was very rare, but I think that's when I start getting known because people start watching a lot of our videos because we were one of the only scenes. And I think too, Mango would come up a lot. He would come and hang out with us and stuff. And I think him being as good as he was at that time helped it too. Silent Spectre too. A lot of it wasn't just me, but it was the quality of the matches we had too. We just had some of the best players. And I think especially because there's just more Melee in the East Coast. And it gave more mystery about what was going on the West Coast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. I got a question for you because you were talking about how 2008 was such a transitional period for a lot of people, right? We had, like you said, the financial crisis. You just graduated high school. Brawl just came out. What made you be solidified in Melee? What made you say, nah, I'm gonna keep it going through this? Because like you said, you've been playing at that time for I think 3 years or so?
About 2 for real. I'd say 2. I feel I really started in 06. But what kept me playing, I was just into it.
Yeah.
It
Simple
was
as
fun.
that, huh?
It was dope. And then you remember how it started with going to a tournament in Modesto, meeting all people from Northern California. And then I'm meet people from SoCal. Then I'm meeting people from Arizona and Oregon. And then it's just like, oh damn, you flew out here from New York, you flew out here from New Jersey, like,
Yeah.
and then eventually it just grew. And then like the first time I ever got on a plane was to go to not first time I ever got on a plane. First time I ever left the state was to go to New York, to go to ROM 2, I think it was. And like it's just the thought of like, I don't know, just seeing different people and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. And just like I don't know, I just wanted to get good, and I just kept playing, Yeah, it was just like something I really was just into, I guess.
Is the people aspect of the community, like being able to meet new people and converse and learn from them, is that something that is important to you? Because I see that that's like a common theme in some of your answers.
Sometimes I wouldn't say that's what I'm looking for, but I appreciate the relationships that came in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think I was playing initially to like meet people as much as I was just like, oh, this good players from here, or this players from here. But then eventually, like, people who would like become like rivals or stuff like that, they ended up becoming good friends of mine at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like, I think that's like the best part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess hopefully that answered your question. But like, I guess it didn't. That wasn't the initial goal, but like the result of that just turned into friendships.
Word. What do you think was your initial goal? Was it just to get good, get better, play?
Yeah. Kind of wanted to get ranked, that I didn't know if it was possible for somebody like me. Just given the fact that, like, I don't know, I just never saw myself as like getting that good where a number would be attached to my name.
Yeah.
But then lo and behold, that happened.
Did that happen with the Doc first, or did that happen when you went to Falco?
Doc.
Word.
Yeah, I was ranked. By the time I switched to Doc, I was already like good at the game and stuff. When I switched to Spaceys, but like all those beginning moments was like with Doc, like just, getting a big win and all that stuff, like all that, like, but yeah, I think I just really wanted to just improve and just I don't know, just get good. But I didn't get as good as I wanted to be, I feel like.
Really? Well,
nah, yeah.
What were your like goals then that you didn't accomplish then in terms of competition?
Top 10, just like in the world.
Yeah.
I think I could have done it, but I had to work, man. Like when I was younger, like a lot of those players, they had like school and stuff, and I would just be working 2-3 jobs to just like not be broke. So, because of that, I just couldn't go to tournaments like that.
How are you able to manage, putting your time and effort into a strenuous game like Melee and still, work your ass off like that? I mean, I know it's hard for people just to do one job and play Melee, and that's what I mean. I'm doing a PhD. I don't even know you can even count that as a job, and it's hard for me to get practice in. Like, how are you able to do it?
Oh man, sometimes I couldn't, but sometimes, it would just be like, I don't know, say you work in like 6 days a week, you got one day off, you could play on that day off. Or, I don't know, like Thanksgiving right now, the time of this recording is coming up. Like, that's be a good time to just practice. You know what I mean? Or go to somebody's house and play. Like back then, we didn't have Slippy.
Yeah.
So like you had to just like meet up with people that you live near and stuff like that. But yeah, I would just get my little games in here and there. I mean, at least the job thing didn't really start happening more so until 2011, 2012. But like, even then, like I would just do what I could, little time here, think about the game. You know what I'm saying? I'm on the bus going to work, thinking about the game, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you like describe that time around like 2012 when you started having to I mean, I assume at that time you have to make these financial decisions about, where you're going to put your time and effort and money into. Was there ever a time where, at least back in those days, where you thought, I don't know if this game's worth it?
Oh, all the time.
Really?
I feel that way even like now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, back then I felt that way for sure. But I think it was a little easier to go, like, to just cope with and like play because I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes I just would have to go without it. Sometimes I go like a couple months, 2, 3, 4 months, and then I have to pick it back up. Or then sometimes I can just go all in for a certain amount of time. It really just depends on my situation. But like 2011 is when I had to like, I rented a room out in the city. It's called Union City.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
For $475. I bet everybody in the Bay just gasped that you could rent a room for that cheap back then. But that was before the tech boom,
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to keep afloat. You know what I mean? So I would just work what I could, and that's kind of how I kept it going. But then there'd be times where, like, say, I could just like, oh, I'm off on a Saturday, or what I would do is I used to work at Dave & Buster's, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times I would work on Saturdays, but like Saturday nights. So I'd have work at like 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I can go to a tournament up until a certain point, and then I would stop and then go to work. So I'll do stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it was the best way for me to still improve while like working so much.
I guess I got a couple questions, which is, the first one is, do you feel like you have a positive attitude when it comes towards the game, even with those hardships that you had to deal with?
Oh yeah. Do I? Back then, sometimes I feel like I didn't know. Sometimes I feel like I didn't, but then there's times where I do. And I think over time, my attitude's gotten a lot better. I think I'm, especially now, I'm at a lot more peace with the game in my situation, which is like kind of wild because I'm like relatively worse than I was when I was like at my peak. You know what I mean? But I feel like as of now, like, I find peace in playing. I think playing is like such a blessing. So when I get to play, I'm always happy.
Word, that's awesome. Can you describe how you learned how to find that peace? I mean, I know that there's a lot of players who still have this what if, or I don't know if I should type idea with Melee. And I'm interested to hear how you were able to learn to love the game and be at peace with it more as you grew.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think just over time, like going into other things and just learning more and like just maturing, that, it's like easier to just deal with the wins and losses, they come and go. But like, what remains is like the fact that I get to play and enjoy myself and like, enjoy the game and like come up with cool concepts, whether they work or not. It's just like, I don't know, it just started to feel more like a privilege the less I got to play it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think like stepping away from it almost made me help like be happy that I get to play. Whereas like when I'm playing every day and I'm grinding, it's more like, I feel like I got to be this amount of good because I've been playing so much. But like when I stop and just like appreciate the game more, it's a lot easier to just like have fun playing it, even if I like lose. Yeah,
I feel that. I mean, what is your mentality in terms of competition today? I mean, you're a cracked player. There's no denying that. Is it tough to find the time, or is it something on the back burner, or is it something that you're still aspiring to be, that top 10 player one day?
It definitely is hard to find the time. It's hard to say if I know like I could be a top 10 player. I have limiting beliefs But I think it's more just like I want to get I wanted to start playing the game more once my life's situated. I've realized, at least for me, with my history, my best times of playing is when I'm just like when the rest of my life is cool.
Yeah, of course.
And then, that way I'm not just stressing about anything. But like I say, I'm going to tournaments where like I needed the money to win. So I'm like feeling like I gotta win. Like that's like the worst feeling. As opposed to like just going because you're like, man, I just want to go hang out and just chill.
Yeah.
And then you go and like it's way more of a fun of an experience regardless what happens. So like I just want to be at a point in my life where I feel good about my situation so I can just play more, and whatever comes from that comes from that. Like I think I can get better still. I'm not taking that away like off the table.
Yeah.
But it's also just like I'm cool with like if that means I have to like just sacrifice things that I don't know, like other parts of my life that I feel are worth having, then I don't know if I want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like when I was like 18, 19, it was just like melee of life. But like now it's like, I don't know.
I feel that.
I like going into it just in a good mental state because then the game's just way more fun in general.
How are you able to deal, and the times where you did have to play for that bread? Like, how did you deal with that pressure going in? I mean, that must be brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't even know. I guess I thought of it like, I won't say I thought of it like I have to win, but like it was definitely on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like more just like I come up with the plan for if I didn't win, and then if I did win, what I'm gonna do. And then it's just like, and then I started thinking about it and I'm like, man, nah, if you got to go to tournaments for this, then you shouldn't be going. And, you got to get your life right. So I stopped, and then I did that. And then when I went to tournaments, I started going to go. And then like I started doing better because it was just like, man, I was way more like, just way more at peace with the situation. So
yeah, definitely.
I recommend if you feel like you gotta win to be ranked, or you gotta win to get money or whatever it is, like either for some level of financial status or like social status, I think you should just like take a step back and like really assess like what you're doing, why you playing, and then like because you're using melee as a means to an end, like you're not fixing the issue.
Mm-hmm,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think addressing the issue is better than like using it through melee, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm wondering when you had to, take those step back from melee and, figure out your life and get everything right. Did you learn anything from that time that you were able to put back into melee? I mean, obviously it's not going to be like, go ahead, sorry.
My bad. When you mean that, do you mean like, did I learn anything about the game or just like me?
No, you in general, like mentality wise, that you could then apply to not even just playing the game, but the melee scene in general. Because like I said, I mean, you're so influential in the scene that, it could stand to be said that like, the growth that you have within yourself can be multiplied through the scene, right? And so I'm always interested to see when someone says like, oh, I worked on myself at this point. Like, how did they work on themselves, and how did it manifest back into melee?
Yeah, I guess for me, how I worked on it was just like I hate to be the change that you want to see, right? Like, I really just I wanted my emotions and my actions to reflect, and when I played the game, and so I just when I came back, I would practice it. Like I would practice like how to deal with losing, So then like it was kind of crazy because it's like you go from like not wanting to lose to almost looking forward to it, because then you're like, all right, this is what I've been practicing. I can deal with this. Like how do I, like stay like you get salty, right? And then in my head, like when I'm not playing, I'm thinking about ways to avoid, not to avoid being salty, but to accept the feeling of it. So then when it happens, I'm like ready. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. It's okay to feel salty, but I'm not letting it like dictate my actions and change my behavior so much to where like I'm just a different person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, my time off. What's up?
I said that's super interesting. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. My time off was just like, reflecting on things like that. I just wanted to become a more calm person, calm individual. I didn't want things to, and like I definitely had salty moments.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say I was like the saltiest person, but I definitely had a problem. I wouldn't like throw my controllers or nothing like that, but I would just get really sad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just like learned how to like deal with that stuff by just like constant repetition and just like thinking about it so much to where like it eventually it gets not as bad, and then the more you do it, and also just having other stuff going on in your life too. I genuinely do think when you have like another outlet that's not melee related or whatever it is that you're doing, just having another outlet is always like, I think, just good for your mental, something that is not competitive, something casual, whatever.
I want to ask you a question. So you were talking about how you had to like practice how to lose and like deal with those conflicting feelings inside of you and learn how to, truck through them basically and keep it moving. Were you able to apply some of that into life in general? Because I know like all of us go through hardships and adversity in life. I mean, were you able to use some of that practice that you had in those times in Melee in your life outside of Melee?
Oh, 100%. Mm-hmm. I can tell you one that happened this year.
I'd love to hear
it. So I went to, I lived in California pretty much my whole life, Northern California.
Yeah.
And I've been living in Oakland for a while, like years. And I decided to move to Cleveland, Ohio. Well, part of that was because I got a job out here. So I was like, okay, cool. I got a job. It's cool. Things are going all right. I got signed to GG and stuff like that. And then like a month in working here, I got laid off the job.
Damn, dude.
And I was like, fuck. Right. So I'm just like stressing. But then I just thought, okay, that happened. Ain't shit you can do about it. It is frustrating. But then I just think about like, okay, like what can I do now? It's not about how, like, what can you fix now to make your situation better? And then I just worked on that, and that's, and like, I would apply that, like I learned a lot of that in Melee too. Like, say if I play Melee, I SD, it's just like, instead of being like, man, I can't believe I would have won if I didn't SD.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, you SD. All right, cool. Just try to bring it back, and like, it put me in those moments where I could focus on the moment when the like adversity hits me, instead of just like, being upset about the situation. Not to say that I'm not going to be upset. I think it's okay to be upset or grieve about a situation, but like, you don't want to stay there. And I think like competing taught me how to just not stay in my thoughts, and just move forward with some type of action,
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful, bro. That's awesome. I mean, that's what I love about Melee. Is like you just learn so much about not only yourself, but like about how the world works and how to keep it moving. Like you said, it's a super important lesson that definitely I can empathize with. I've definitely have had to do that, both in Melee and out of Melee, and I definitely think Melee has helped me with the processing those feelings, like you said, of like being upset, anger, grief.
Right. I mean, and a lot of those things, like, I mean, obviously you can learn these things outside of Melee, right? But I think with me, because I was just competing so much, if there was a tournament I was trying to go, so, if I'm spending all my weekends at these tournaments, that was like a good time to like, just, emotionally prepare myself for things. And then it just kind of translated over. And I think too, it snowballs, right? So like, say you do that in Melee, then it gets easier in life. Then when it happens to you in life, it's even easier in Melee because it's just like, well, man, I done got laid off, so losing this set can't like hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I ain't trying to laugh at that, but that is so funny.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just
Puts
like,
it in
what's
perspective.
the worst that could happen? Like, okay, yeah, I get 3-0, sick. Whatever.
Yeah, dude.
You know? So
I want to ask you about like your outlets outside of Melee, because you said it's important to have something outside of Melee, otherwise you're gonna get too fixed on it. What was that for you?
I mean, for me, I think a lot of it was like I liked watching Battlerap.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
I like watching Battlerap. Just as a fan, I just watch Battlerap, Street Fighter. Like I watch Street Fighter, random YouTube videos. Spending time with friends. Family. My girlfriend.
I gotta ask you a little bit about this Battlerap. Hold on a sec. First off, are we talking URL? Are we talking KOTD? What are we talking about here?
Back then I used to watch everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Now I don't watch it as much. But when I do watch battles now, I normally watch like Smack URL because that's what I first started watching, like Smack DVDs. Like I come from that era, so like I used to just I used to skip the DVD part and just like
watch the battles.
Had the battles. I would just skip all that and watch the battles. So like I do like. But I really started watching Grind Time and all that. I don't know if you remember Grind Time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but like all that stuff, like, I got respect for all those people and what they do.
Yeah, preach, man. I definitely feel that. Who's your favorite battle rapper, man?
Right now or like of all time?
I think all time. I think I want to hear all time.
Man, I don't even know if I have one. I like watching like a group of, there's like phases of people I like watching.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I have like a favorite one, man. I mean, you can't go wrong with like somebody like Loaded Lux or something.
Yeah.
Tay-Rock's cool. I used to like watching Hollow back in the day.
Yeah.
I like watching Surf.
Surf a legend.
Yeah, I like watching all those people. Just shout out to Caustic. I know Caustic, kick it with them every now and then.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of that's Grind Time stuff right there too. Right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Caustic
They know.
sick.
That's awesome.
Who else? Paste, recipes Paste.
R.I.P. Paste. Yeah. King of Canada for sure.
Yeah, Tay-Rock. I go on and on. It's a lot of them that I just like watching. I can't really like have a favorite though, but I just got like a group of people, where I'll just binge. No matter how long I'll like go away from battle rap, there's always like I'll stop watching for maybe like a year. And then I'll come back and just binge all the stuff I missed this last, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do that all the time. So yeah, man, it's dope to just watch. That's like a hobby that I always just like. I wouldn't say like I was just like I know everything, but like I go to events and like.
Oh, you gone live? That's so sick.
I've gone to the what's events? I went to the ones. What event did I go to? I went to the first one. I went to was the one where Disaster and Arsenal battled and the lights went out.
Yeah, that's sick.
I was at that event. The one where SoulCon like destroyed QP. I was at that event.
Dude, shout out SoulCon, man. I wonder what he's up to, man.
Dude, you know what's crazy? Like that day, I went up. I forgot. I was sitting down. He was right next to me, so I just chopped it up because he hadn't battled yet. This was before the battle. He was probably like the next battle or two. He was chilling.
Wow.
And I was like, "Yo, how do you feel about like?" QP was like, I'm talking quantum physics QP.
Yeah.
He had the punchlines. And I was asking SoulCon, like, yo, like, you gonna be okay? Because, Stockton is close to Oakland. So, it's like, and SoulCon, even though he's from Cali, he's like kind of like was known for being from New York. Yeah. So it's just like all the QP's people are in here. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I'm like, yo, how are you gonna beat him? And he's like, nah. He's like, the stuff I got, bro, is gonna destroy him. It's gonna destroy him. And then that battle got like 1 million views in like a week or something crazy.
He bodied him, dude.
Yeah, it was wild. So
For those who don't know, like Solcon is like a white Jewish rapper, came in, beat a guy in his home turf, like 3-0'd him. It was clean.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, and QP is dope. It's
He's good, yeah.
I just didn't expect like that performance. It was kind of wild. I thought it was going to be like, oh, you might, like, at worst, it's going to be a close battle. Mm-hmm. But that shit was kind of wild. So, yeah, I went to that event. What else? What other event? I went to the event where Mr. Fab battled Arsenal. I met NC Hammer there. It's crazy.
For real? I didn't even know he was there.
Dude. So shout out to JB. So this guy, I gotta tell the story. This guy, he's by himself, right? He stands right next to me. He's by himself. He's real quiet, and he has his glasses on. Bald head. The room was dark as hell, so you kind of couldn't really tell. So my boy JB, he taps me on the shoulder. He's like, "Yo, is that Hammer?" I was like, "Hammer." I was like, "Who? Like MC Hammer?" He's like, "Yeah, because MC Hammer's from Oakland."
Yeah.
So like, I look, I'm like, "Oh shit, that is Hammer." So I go up to him without even thinking. I wasn't even like, and nobody go. I feel like no one knew it was him. So I was like, "Yo, Hammer, man, dope stuff, repping the town, all that stuff." You know, MC Hammer's like super fucking famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, he was like, "Yo, thank you," And then after that, like, I kind of fucked it up for him because like then like everybody like they looked at our interaction and then people start going up to him and then he shortly left. I think he went backstage or somewhere after that. I felt bad because I was the first one to notice him. But then like, my friend JB, I was the first one to go up to him, but like it was kind of crazy just like being right next to Hammer, man. I like if he was like not even like 5 feet in front of me, man. It was crazy.
Have you ever tried like either battle rap or just rapping over beats or anything like that, like musically?
No, nothing crazy. I mean, I wrote a couple of verses, because my cousins, they rap, I got friends and all that rap, but I've tried to write verses and stuff like that, but I never like, we used to freestyle and stuff, but like, it was never nothing serious. Like I never like, was like, I used to, my era, like a rap, like I grew up in like that G Unit era. So like if you just didn't commit like 10 homicides, bro, you just were like a joke of a rapper. So I never thought I was qualified to rap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm playing video games and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but now it's cool because like when I see rappers, I feel like anybody can rap now. Like, all kind of people rap.
Yeah, it's open to everyone now.
Yeah, so I mean, but yeah, so I'll do something like that, or just chill my homies, watch Street Fighter. I like watching Street Fighter a lot.
Yeah, or
just like FGC games in general. Or go ahead.
I was gonna ask, have you ever thought about competing or commentating in the FGC? Because I can assume that there's probably some more bread in that, like with Capcom and all that,
Right. I've entered tournaments for Street Fighter. But as far as commentating, I don't think I'm qualified, man. Like I'm not like a Yipes or something like that. Yeah. Like that's not my like specialty game. And even then, it'd be cool to compete, but it's just like I just don't have the time to get better at the games. But I always enjoy it. I always enjoy watching them and listening to other communities just like, do their thing. It's like similar but different. But nah, I mean, if I was like super good, I'd compete, but I'm ass at Street Fighter.
Dude, I feel you. It's a hard game, man.
That shit is hard, yeah.
I want to ask you a little bit about commentary.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I think you like grew in with when it came to like, you were making your videos back in the day and you were the guy commentating on them. And I know, like you said, it wasn't for content back then, right? It was more of a collection, how did that manifest into being the commentator that you are today? Because I mean, you are one of the best commentators. Like it's people like it's a unique sound that you bring to the game. And I'm wondering how you develop that.
Oh, thank you. I think it's because
I just come from like a unique set of circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like my life growing up is common with the average Melee player. But I do think that, that on top of being around a bunch of Melee players has like molded this like I could go esports or unfiltered. Like, I could kind of go back and forth between those two things. And I think that helps my commentary. I've always thought that for me as a person, I have a wide range of like the type of people I know and the type of people that I've been around. And I feel like that has helped me, like, in my commentary. I feel like it shows at least like my ability to adapt. Like I've been in, not like saying this proudly, I guess, but I've been in rooms where like everybody has a master's, everybody's super smart. They're all making like $200K a year, right?
Yeah.
And then I've also been in a room where everybody got felonies, everybody is guns in there. Nobody lacking in there. It's weed everywhere. Like, and when you just like like those two environments are such a contrast that like it just gives you range about like how people are. And so sometimes I feel like at least I think I do. So I'm not always sure, but like sometimes I feel like I have an understanding of like what people will like to hear in certain situations or just how to be around people in certain situations, that it gives me a wide group of people to like connect to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. This might be a question a little bit bigger than Melee, but I'm really interested in your thoughts. Like, I definitely can empathize and feel you when you say like, yo, I've been in a room where, it's XYZ, and I've been in a room where it's, it's this and that, right? It's completely two different rooms. And I find myself like having to like code switch in between that type of stuff. How do you keep it original? Like, how do you find yourself when you have to be, in these different types of arenas?
Oh, I mean, that's a good question. By not code switching, right? I feel like you learn more about yourself by being in a bunch of different environments, because you always have to like adapt. And I guess I've learned by it happening to me so much was learning how to adapt while like not having to change anything. Like I used to feel like, oh, I had to code switch or I had to do something like that. But now I'm just kind of like, yo, just I am who I am. People like it. That's cool. If not, I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, as long as I think at the end of the day, what I've realized too is like, no matter what environment you're in, when you're just who you are, like that's what people like the most. So, I just like, the things I like. I don't try to appeal to nobody either. That doesn't mean that I'm not respectful or nothing, but I'm not going to try to like do or say certain things to get people to like me more. It's kind of just like, I just exist just like this. Like I'm talking to you, I would talk to same, like, just like my cousin or my boss, like, and not to say I would talk to people like, like sometimes like I get certain situations are different. You can't always be like if you're on the phone, like for customer service, you're not going to talk to them the same way you're going to talk to like your best friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, it's just knowing that like, despite the situations that you still maintain who you are and just accept that. And, people think more of you, that's great. If they think less of you, then that's more of a problem with them than you, especially if you didn't do anything to like really warrant those type of responses. But most people, I feel like when you're cool, they'll reciprocate despite differences.
I feel that. Yeah, that's a really good answer, man. I really respect that.
Unless they're an asshole, then like if they're an asshole, that's just them. But
fuck
like
them,
majority of the time, most people I think are just gonna be pretty chill with like whatever you represent.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question because you said earlier, I feel like my upbringing is different than a lot of Melee players' upbringings. Do you feel like it was a learning process to be comfortable in who you are in the Melee scene? Or is that something where you're just like, I don't give a shit what these guys think. Fuck them. I'm going to be who I am.
Yeah, it's something I had to learn how to be comfortable with because like I was around people that like just grew up nothing like me. So, you know, like when you're around people that grow up like you, it's like there's assumed things that you don't really need to talk about because y'all grew up similar. But like when you're in a situation with someone of a different environment than you, it's like you like miss nuance that you would have had if you were in those environments, right? And it goes both ways too. Like they miss nuance too about you. So like I said, meeting like Chokenator and stuff, right? Like, for example, that high school I went to while he was in my high school, it was there's this program called the IB program. And it's for like if you're trying to go into like, I don't know, like a really good school, like an Ivy League or something like that. Like you want to go into the IB program because it gives you the best chance of going to like Stanford or Yale or something like that. I knew a guy who went to Stanford because of it. And but the school's in the hood. So it's just like already alone, like the contrast is like there. You know what I mean? Like just being around like the people that I grew up with. And then, you know, you also have like these IB people. That was predominantly who played Melee, right? So I would go to their houses and stuff, and then they would talk about, man, I gotta take this test, I gotta take the SATs, or I gotta take like such and such, and like, you know, and the environments I was in prior, like they're not talking about that. You know what I mean? Like they're not talking about like, you know, just like what type of this school, I filled out these school applications. It was just like totally different. And so like it taught me like nuance and within just different like economic backgrounds, social backgrounds, racial backgrounds. It gave me more perspective of like how different we are, despite us being into similar things.
It's pretty impressive that you're able to like learn and think through these things at like a young age, like at high school. I mean, like,
yeah, I guess so. Like, I mean, I think just being exposed to it that young, right? Because like when you're exposed to people who are like basically like scholars, but then when you go back to, but then you got to go back to like walk through the block to go home. It's like, it's such a contrast that it makes you think about the situations. At least it did for me. It made me think about like just how I grew up, because I never really thought about it until I was like out of those situations. And I'm like, oh damn, you know, that's crazy, you know. And there's good things in both. Good things in good and bad in both, in my opinion.
Can you describe some of the good and the bad looking back into it? I mean, I think you have a very like a very smart way of perceiving things. So I'm very interested to think like now as you look back onto that time growing up the way that you did, there's I'm sure some things that you take pride in and some things that you might not take pride in. And I'm wondering like what were some of the things that shaped you into the man that you are growing up in that environment?
I just think like, I guess just like, you know, one thing I learned that's good, right? Or I guess like a good thing. I guess, okay, a good thing in a different environment, I'll say, like, for example, like a good thing in a different environment, I think is just like how deliberate I feel like other cultures were, like, especially when I'd be around, like, say, like Asian cultures, you know, and like some white cultures, like how different, how deliberate and intentional they were about like their future, you know, like growing up, like, for us, it was just like day to day. I grew up in predominantly black areas, predominantly like black and Mexican areas. So like, you know, it was more like day to day. Whereas like out there, they're like, you know, when I'm around them, they're like thinking about, you know, like what schools they're going to, what type of jobs they're going to get, what type of opportunities they're going to get. And that really opened my mind to that idea and that concept of just like, you know, what you do now will affect what you do later. It was like I said, when in my environments, it was just like going day to day, and like, and just how much those different cultures, the good things, like is how deliberate they were, and how what is the word, like calm they would be in those moments. Even if they weren't necessarily calm, they would perceive it that way, and they would just do their best to get through. And and I'm sure there are issues with the whole like school and hierarchy type of thing and success, but like for someone not in those environments, it was an eye opener, and I thought that was cool. A good thing though, I felt like that I learned just being in like just my environment was just like the ability to just like be firm sometimes and just like not be afraid of conflict. I used to think conflict was like bad, and though I don't like conflict, I don't avoid it because of those situations. Like I feel like I see a lot of people who are very smart and who are successful, but they're scared to tell people when they're like upset with something or when to say no. And it's like in those environments, like you just had to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you didn't do that, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, you get trampled
It's just
over.
like, so it's cool to like be able to have both in that regard. I guess the bad things from both is just like when I see those other groups, it's just like sometimes I feel like the outward appearances matter too much, and like who you are matters less. In like those more upscale cultures or just environments, it's just like, yo, you gotta have a nice house, the car, your stuff, but like you could just be like piece of shit, you know what I mean? It's just, it's just like I didn't like that. And then just like in just Black environments or Hispanic more, it was just like more chaotic, more violent. Obviously like just being around violence is like, it's just tough. And I mean, it wasn't like everyday type stuff, but when you hear like, yo, such and such got shot, this such and such went to jail, you think it's normal, and then like it wasn't until I left those environments where I'm like, oh, that's not normal. Like a lot of these people here they don't know anybody who like been to jail, you know what I mean? And if it was like something very temporary, they don't know about bailing, paying 10% of the bail to get people out, you know what I mean? Like we had to do stuff like that. So like that, I would say that was the bad thing of adjusting. But I feel like I've learned a lot from both, and it's helped me like learn how to grow as a person while like not forgetting who I am and like the people I was around and where I came from, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely, it's super important. That's an awesome answer, dude. That was an awesome answer.
Thank you.
I wanna relate it a little bit back to Melee, bringing it back. Like,
yeah,
you were talking about how some people, they got the nice car, the nice house, or whatever, but they're still like a piece of shit or whatever. Do you feel like your perception in Melee, at least like when you were coming up, was defined by looks or the way that you talked, or even just like being a Black guy, an unabashed Black guy in the scene? Or do you think that the Melee community was like accepting of who you are and how you act and how you present yourself, I guess?
Yeah, the latter. Like I think none of it really mattered in Melee, and I think that was like the dopest part. Like you could just be Black dude from the hood, you could be a white dude from the richest suburb ever. Like it didn't matter, and I think that was the coolest part. Like there are people, like I think of Rudolph all the time because I feel like he's somebody. Rudolph, the dude who used to play like on the chairs.
Yeah, the Japanese Marth, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's somebody that I don't think I'd ever meet in my lifetime if it wasn't for Smash.
Yeah.
And the fact that me and him, we played multiple sets, he was always cool. I love Rudolph. I hope he's doing well.
Yeah.
But I think of him as somebody like, man, this is a situation where like there's no way me and him would meet each other if it wasn't for this game. And I just like how it doesn't matter like, what like economic background, social, racial, sexual background, whatever you come from, it's just like, it just whatever you do on the sticks is like primarily like what matters. And I always thought Melee was like insanely good with that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, man. I absolutely agree. I think that's one of the beautiful things about Melee, and definitely something that we got to work to keep solidified, I guess. I guess one of my questions would be like, what do you think the Melee scene needs to do to keep that feeling of acceptance strong, because I feel like you have to be proactive when it comes to those type of things.
Yeah, a little bit. I think I think it gets harder as things get more popular. And I think Melee has gotten more popular. But I think as long as the people who are involved currently like have some type of way to like stay involved, and just also like just people being a bridge to start, because like, for example, you might want to support like those type of things, but you don't know how to go about it. But like, if you know somebody that is in like those situations, I think it's way more likely that you'll be involved. And I just think just talking to other people, talking to, being open-minded towards just different, what is the word? Different backgrounds and just different perspectives. And I think the more you put yourself in those situations, the easier that type of thing will be for the community as a whole. I don't even necessarily think it has to be like exclusive events per se. Like I know, like as someone who's done Bimmy, like I don't think that necessarily has to exist, but it's definitely good that it's there. I think as long as people acknowledge their differences and respect each other's differences, I think like that's all that matters. Like we're all different, and that's okay. And like it's cool because like because we're different, we can all learn from each other. It's like, I know you're Ethiopian, right? I am not Ethiopian, but I know if I had like a recommendation for some Ethiopian stuff or a situation, I know I could like talk to you about that and you could give me some insight, right?
Yep, definitely.
And I think like, I'm not saying we have to do that with everything, but I think it just gives you more of like an idea of like people when you for example, it's like, somebody who like, like there's certain groups of people who like never have interacted with other groups of people.
Yeah.
I think that's got to be tough because they only see what they see maybe on TV or movies, but like when people from different backgrounds or different job occupations too, it doesn't have to be just like a cultural thing. It's just like, yo, imagine if you got a friend who's a plumber that plays Melee,
Yeah.
Irony of a plumber with Melee. But I'm like, if you know a plumber, you're like, yo, hey, like, what do I do here? For example, Daryl, he's an electrician, and I had a question about electric stuff, and he helped me, or like there's certain Melee players here who are lawyers. Certain like Lod is a doctor, and there's certain, there's probably a Melee player who's like, some type of athlete, and it's cool because you just get to know more about those type of situations. And I just recommend you talk to all kind of people because you'll be surprised like what other people know.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things to do at majors, because I mean I'm not going to majors to like try to win them, right? So like one of my favorite things is just go like play friendlies and just talk to people about stuff. Like, you learn a lot, man. There's just such a diverse group of people who play Melee. It's definitely one of the best things about the Melee scene. It's just how diverse.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you'll just realize about all the shit you don't know, man.
Yeah.
You'll be like, damn, that's how that works. Like, it's like this guy's over here is a computer developer, this guy is over here, this guy's a doctor, this guy is a plumber, this dude works at like Burger King, but we all are like, just intertwined in this game, and it's really cool. That's
one of the things I think like Melee has definitely taught me is like, not only is like when I watch someone play, I'm like, wow, I did not know you could do this type deal. Like, oh, I need to try this out. But then just like learning stuff about people, like you just learn so much through this game. Right. It's awesome.
For example, like, okay, like Lod's a doctor, right? But J-Mook, shout out to J-Mook. Like, didn't he work at Starbucks before he like got sponsored?
Yeah.
So he's just like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like two completely different like backgrounds, but they're both like amazing at the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just think I always thought that was super dope.
Yeah, I mean, even just like from the like Mango and Armada, just the difference between those two people from, you know, halfway across the world being connected over a video game. It's just so beautiful. I love this game, bro.
Nah, yeah, super dope.
I want to ask you a question because you've been around the block when it comes to Melee, through the thick and thin. Who are some of the players, you know, when meeting them or conversations that stood out to you, not necessarily even in the game, but outside the game, that you learned from?
Man, I don't even know. Just like, I guess, you know, it's funny. Something popped up. I just opened Twitter and like a summary about MC Hammer popped up. I just thought it was funny because we were just talking about.
Yeah, they must be listening to us, bro.
Yeah, right. I know. But you said that. Can you repeat that again? You said what was it that, or what type of players that I learned from in and outside of the game?
Yeah, like we were just talking about how you know, by meeting all these different types of people, you can learn so much from them. What were some of the players that you met that you've learned from, both inside and outside the game?
Oh man, I mean, I don't even know, man. I've learned a lot from. I learned, you know, obviously just. Yeah, man. Just learned a lot from Phil, just being around him and being with him in situations, just like, you know, when going to tournaments and like Smash Fest, he used to know all the players. So I would just tag along and then, you know, just learned a lot about like all those like people when I was around him. Shout to Zope. He was putting me on a bunch of game with like houses and what was it, like how like lenders work and stuff. We were just talking about it, but it was just like crazy how he just knew all this stuff. So I learned stuff like that through Peter. Is Zope is his tag. Those are like the things I can think of off top of my head. I mean, I've learned some stuff about programming just like listening to other smashers talk about it. But I feel like I don't have a good answer, but that off the top of my head, those are like the things that I can think of. I remember specifically talking to Zope about that house stuff. And he was just telling me how like some lenders can just make so much money in like with only like a couple of days work, you know, and how crazy it was. And like, you know, just stuff that I never even thought about. Which is cool. I learned Aiden, you know, Aiden. His I don't know if he wants me to, I don't think this is crazy information. I heard his dad's like a pilot, you know, it's just like, what? You know, like, it's just, I don't know. It's just stuff like that. You know, people just from all different backgrounds. I don't know. I just learned random little things here and there.
I want to ask, I always ask this, or I try to ask this to a lot of players and personalities in Melee. You know, especially with you, you've had such a body of work through this game. Does legacy concern you? Is that something that is in your mind? And if so, how do you want to be, you know, what do you want your legacy to be, I guess, in Melee?
That's a good question, but nah, man, legacy never concerned me like that. And that's the crazy part. I like, it was kind of like one of those things I look back on and I guess I don't see myself the way people see me, you know, like people, at least amongst Melee, like, you know, it'd be like, oh, you're a pillar, you're a legend of scene, all this. I don't see myself that way. I just see myself as a guy who just like has situations and, you know, I just, you know, just did the best of what I can. I always wanted to just make the scene better than how it was, like, you know, leave it better than what you found it type of stuff. I always wanted to try to add some kind of value. Like that was always like a goal of mine. And I feel like I've done that. So
yeah, definitely.
I mean, how I'm viewed, how I'm viewed. I mean, I don't know. I just kind of just, I don't know. I just always just wanted to give back in some way and just, I didn't always want to take. But I mean, I wouldn't say legacy. My legacy, at least, doesn't concern me too much. I'm just blessed of the I've dealt with a lot for sure, but I definitely am blessed of all the opportunities and the good things. I've had a lot of privileges that I never had prior or since being in with Melee. So, it's like a different planet. So I'm blessed with all the things that Melee has brought into my life. It's definitely changed my life for the better. So
that's interesting because I feel like Phil had a very similar answer, and it also seemed like it's almost like uncomfortable when people are like, "Yo, you're a legend. You inspired me to do this, and you're the homie." Da 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 da. Like, does that make you a little bit uncomfortable when people come up to you and be like, "Yo," like, does it just like make you have to step back a little bit, or do you like just take it in stride? How does that feel for you?
I mean, I wouldn't say I feel uncomfortable. I'm definitely grateful. I feel blessed, but it's not like I guess I didn't know how much the actions that I did were noticed. I always thought they were just stuff that, people go about their day and, not think much of it. But apparently I'm wrong.
Yeah.
More people watch than I think, and I've impacted people more than I think, and I don't know. I wasn't necessarily say that was always like my intention. Sometimes with certain things, but for the most part, it's like I'm just grateful that I've had the opportunities, and I even get that kind of like love and support. I don't really know. I'm just grateful of everything that people have brought into me within the game. I'm more grateful than uncomfortable, because it's like a privilege to me to just even be doing all this. So
yeah, I feel that.
Very, very fortunate.
I wonder, I mean, this is again a question maybe a little bigger than Melee, right? Is like we all have trials and tribulations in life, and like you definitely had yours. We all had them, right? And I want to understand, because you said again you're grateful for the opportunities that you have. You're grateful for the people who come up to you. You're grateful for the people you've touched. How do you center yourself around being grateful and being thankful? Is that something that you also had to learn? Or, because like I said, I mean, there's probably times where you're just like, what the fuck? This shit sucks, right? Like,
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. 100%.
So how did you like center yourself back and be like, you know what, man, I'm grateful for what I have?
I guess just looking at certain situations, like, and being in certain situations too, like I've just worked a lot harder for a lot less. So anytime I get to travel all across the country, sometimes even other parts of the world, just for this, and some of it I get paid to do it. And that's just like such a blessing to me. So I don't know. I guess I just think of it like, I guess I hate saying it, but it could be worse. And it was worse at one point. So the fact that I'm able to, keep myself afloat doing Melee, or just like, the community feels good enough to support me in any fashion, is just always just like a blessing to me. So I'm just happy to even be doing what I'm doing. Because I could just because I've been there when I wasn't able to do that, and it was harder. So just the fact that like the scene, not only like did they help support me, but they want me to do as best as I can, which is like such a rare thing that like I think a lot of people like don't have. Like, for example, like when you think of like, this is something that Melee players I feel like don't have to deal with as much, especially somebody in my situation. Like, for example, when you travel to a new place, right? How some people will join like different meetup groups to look for friends in the local area. Like, I can just go to a local, or I could just post in the face. Like, that's such a like, I don't even know, man. That's such a buff. I don't know. That's such a
it's
blessing.
Having just a community built in is just like such a cheat code for sure.
No matter where you go, and like, I don't know, it's just dope to be able to
have that. So when I think of stuff like that, it makes me just more grateful, like, of the situation, because it cannot be that, and it doesn't. I don't feel as tied to one location because of it, and it also just opens my horizons to just like all different walks of life, which is cool. So I guess that's why I'm always so like thankful, because it's just like I can just. Like, I know people who are just, they're limited to their environment,
Yeah.
And I'm just fortunate enough that my environment is like global. It could be wherever I want it to be because of Melee,
Yeah.
Just super sick.
I think, man, that's just such an important truth about the Melee community. Like, I totally feel that. I really respect that, because I think people lose sight of that, like lose sight of how incredible this opportunity is to grow in the Melee scene. Even if you suck at the game, who cares about the game at the end of the day, right? Like, it's like, obviously I want to win every tournament I get in, but I can grow as a person through this. Like, that is incredible. And
right.
I feel like I see a lot of negativity, especially on like online spaces, about the game and this and that, and I understand it, like, but I just don't want people to lose sight of like just how incredible this scene is, because there's very few things like it, man.
Right. No, for sure.
I wanted to ask you about the future and what that holds for you. You've been in the scene for a long time. What are your goals, I think, in the future? Because the scene's looking a little murky. We don't know what's going on with like Nintendo. They just shut down some shit. Now they posted some.
You talk the GG stuff.
No, I wasn't gonna touch that. Yeah. But if you want to touch that, we can touch that.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. For me, Melee right now, just in general, at least when you ask that question, do you mean Melee or just me in general?
I'm interested to hear both, really.
Okay, well, I'll start with Melee. For like in Melee, it's looking kind of bleak as far as like. I mean, it depends on what happens with the whole GG situation, but I just feel like. It's like assuming the worst. It's just going to be different. I'm probably not going to go to as many tournaments. I might not play as much because I don't think it, it's just going to be tough if I'm not like sponsored or nothing. So I don't know if that's even possible. So it's hard to say. I mean, I'm going to always play and stuff. I'm not going to like tweet that I'm quitting or nothing like that. Yeah. At least but it's just like, as far as like availability, I think it'll be a lot harder for me to determine like what's next. In life, dude, truthfully, man, I just want to get out of debt.
Yeah.
That's been my life goal like the last year. I've made a lot of progress.
Hell yeah, man.
A lot of progress in a year. I wish I could give you numbers, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, you don't need to. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I'll give you one number of a percentage. I've paid off 43% of my debt, which is insane.
That is
in
insane,
8 months,
dude. 8 months? Wow.
Yeah,
you should be really proud of yourself, man. For real.
Thank you. I hope I can do more. But it's hard to find like employment. So, anybody that is hiring, reach out to your boy. But yeah, man, I'm trying to just get into a situation where I'm debt free so I can like focus on the other things, like possibly getting a job that is higher income that I like, or just like pursuing Melee more again, doing more things. But I feel like I'm limited because of this debt. I feel like I can't really do the things that I want to do. And because of that, like, I'm like, yo, let me take a back seat and just like get out of debt. So then,
I feel that.
Say I go to a tournament, I'm not like, damn, I should have paid off this student loan here or something like that, or this tax bill or whatever. Instead, it's just like, okay, I went to the tournament, I had fun, stuff like that. But I've had to cut back so much of my life to even do this. But my goal I mean, that's like probably my biggest life goal is just getting out of debt, dude. It sucks. I highly recommend y'all don't get in debt. And if you do get in debt, read the fine prints of what you're getting into and definitely think about the long game of this debt. If you can't afford to pay it back, don't get into debt.
Yeah, I feel you, dude. That shit is so predatory, though, man. Like, they hunt down people. Like, it's just, yeah.
No, that's happened to me, man. Yeah. I got these student loans when I was 18. Didn't even get the degree, too. That's the cold part. And you know, now I'm still just like, you know, here it is, like what, 15 years later, and I'm still.
It's crazy,
you know what I mean?
Man.
Yeah. So I mean, it's tough, but at least, you know, I'm making strides, and, you know, hopefully y'all root for your boy. That's the most important thing, man. I think the day I'm debt free, I don't even know what I'm gonna do, man.
Bro.
I might shed tears, bro. My whole adult life has just been just debt, moving and more debt. And so it's just, I never thought I can get out of it. So just, you know, the concept of it is wild to me. So hopefully it can happen. That's my life goal right now, though.
Bro, I believe it will happen. I absolutely believe it will happen.
Thank you. I'm about to have the craziest celebration stream.
Yeah, we're going to go crazy, man.
Yeah, it's going to be lit, bro.
Man, well, the reason why I know it's going to happen is because you said, I remember I watched one of your streams and you said, my goal in life is just to do right by people. And I truly believe if you have that goal in life, man, like, stuff works out in your favor. It might look bleak or whatever, but something's going to come through, bro. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I hope so. And thank you. Yeah, I mean, I do try to do, because I always feel like at the end of the day, right, that's the one thing that you can control, that you can control immediately, right? So like, say, for example, you want to lose weight. You could work on that, but seeing results takes time. Or say, you know, like me with the debt, like paying off debt, you could get results, but that takes time. How you treat people, that results immediately. You know, if I show you respect, or if I'm an asshole, that will reflect on me immediately. And it's something that I can change right now. It doesn't, maybe over time, how people view you, say people don't view you that way, and people's view of you over time might not change. Sure. But you could always, the action of treating people with a little bit of respect, treating people with more kindness, and just being a better person, I think is like, to me, it's like, you know, as much as I talk about finances and stuff, I feel like money can't buy that. Yeah. How you treat people. And that's something that'll always go a long way, man. And just, I think how you treat people, regardless of, especially when it doesn't benefit you. I think it's easy to want to say say somebody's around, like, I don't know, Warren Buffett or somebody. It's easy to want to be nice to him. Yeah. But like, you know, that homeless guy on the street asking for change, you know, whether you give it to him or not, you don't gotta be disrespectful to him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Real. Yeah. And, you know, I always just think of it like that, like how I treat people. Just, you know, that's the one thing that I could always control. You know, and you granted, like, not every situation is gonna go good. You know, not everybody's gonna like me. I'm not gonna like everybody, but I do know that, like, the best I could do is just at least, like, just not be an asshole, if anything. Yeah. You know? Yeah. You're spinning game, bro. You're spinning game. Thank you. Because I can't control everybody's reactions towards my actions, but I can't control my actions. So, you know, I just try to do my best to respect people and respect situations. And, you know, I mean, I feel like it's helped me. And I try to make myself easy to work with, too. You know? I honestly think, okay, hear me out. I think, I know this is like kind of a tangent of what you said, but I think in life, right? Like, if you want to just, like, because people always want to, like, they're looking for a better job or a better living situation or something like that, you know? Rightfully so, you know, as you should. But I think if you do, like, these three things, you'll be all right in life, in my opinion. If you just treat people with respect, you show effort, you always show effort, and you show up on time, I swear, bro, those three things will automatically just get you further. Just those three things alone. You just show up on time, you put in work, and you just do right by people. like 9 times out of 10, you'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion. I mean, sometimes you're gonna slip, you know. Sometimes you might have a situation where you don't like somebody, right? Sometimes
might get busy.
Yeah, sometimes you might be late.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you might be too tired, but more often than not, if you could do those 3 things, man, in my opinion, I think you're bound to either, if you're not gonna get somewhere, you'll at least learn something that'll help you get somewhere.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I really respect you. This has been a fantastic talk, man. I could ask you questions for hours. We're running out of time. I got time for one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
Can you bless this beautiful podcast with a favorite Melee story of yours that you can tell without getting people angry, I guess?
Damn. Oh. It's weird, man, because I don't be remembering stories, and then until like for me to remember stuff, I have to like say, for example, like I won't remember a story, right? And we'll walk by a landmark, and then that landmark just brings back every memory I had. I'm like that. I think.
How about maybe something? It doesn't have to be the funny, but something funny that happened at a tournament that most people probably wouldn't know, like maybe back in the day.
Yeah, there is one of those. I just can't think of one right now. Maybe because there's a lot. I think I'll give you just a memory, I guess, that always sticks with me. Like, and it's not like a specific instance, but it's more like, so Peter had this thing. It was this big truck, this big, like, man, you remember like in the late 2000s when everything was big.
Yeah.
So like it was this big like expedition, and you know those cars are huge, but this shit was damn near a minibus. And like he would you could fit like 10 people in there comfortably. That's how big this thing was. And because of that, we would go to tournaments and gas would be dumb cheap. You could pay like $15 one way, or maybe, you know, for gas for the whole trip, you know, because he would have all of us. He would go like 10 deep. And instead of picking us all up and stuff, because so many of us, he'd be like, yo, I'm going to pick y'all all up at this BART station and drop y'all all off at this BART station. And we would just do that, you know, so you could go to SoCal. That's like 6 hours away for those of you guys that don't know. From like the Bay Area to LA is like about 6 hours. You can go to LA and back for like $20-$30. That's a good deal, right?
Yeah.
So we would do that, and just all for like pretty much every major. And basically, we used to call his car the Tank. So all the old NorCal knows about the Tank, you know, and just I bring that up to say, like, we just had a lot of memories in the Tank, you know. We just from driving, talking about different stuff, Melee, singing in the car, all that stuff. Like, it was just good memories, man. It was just a really good time, and like, you know, like I said, like all those differences, like I really felt like I would experience a lot of that in the Tank, and you know, some of those people are my friends to this day. Most of them are my friends to this day. And, you know, it is just dope. I never thought that like what I would experience at 17 would affect my life, like even now, you know? And like, I was one of the younger ones. So like a lot of them are like 40, you know, 40. And like, you know, we still like, sometimes we still catch up, we still talk, and it's cool to just like, be like, damn, man, like, you know, it was all going to those, you know, all those moments just in the Tank. So I guess that was like, if I had to pick a memory, it's that one. I got one more. One more, actually.
Go for it.
One just came to mind. Speaking of that, I've told this before, but I don't know if you know Scamp. He's like old school player, NorCal.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but when after the election in 2008, like gas prices just like dipped super hard. I don't know why, but they just did. So gas was like $2, $3 or something in California, which is like mad cheap, right? So for California, that's mad cheap, y'all. Relax, all you people in the Midwest.
You know? Someone in Wyoming is like, bro, that's expensive.
It had to be. Yeah, like Wyoming, it had to be like $1 or something. But anyway, I remember calling Daryl. I'm like, yo, man, no, Scamp. Yeah, Scamp was like, yeah, you guys, I'm trying to get a full car for this tournament. I'm like, all right, cool. How much is gas? He was like $12. I was like, one way. He's like, no, round trip. I was like, what? So I called Daryl because I figured Daryl want to go. I'm like, yo, you want to go to this tournament? He's like, nah, I can't, man. I don't really have money. I'm like, yo, it's only $12. He's like, yeah, I know, but I was like, nah, for the whole trip. He's like, oh, word? He's like, he's like, let me call you back. So he calls me back like, I don't know, like 5-10 minutes later. He's like, all right, man, I'm coming over, man. Yeah, you could drop me off or something. And I was like, all right, cool. And then basically I say that to say that tournament that we went to on a whim because gas was so cheap. That was the tournament that the Wombo combo happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
so
sick.
like if we had to pay like $50 round trip, which nowadays probably isn't even that bad, but like if we had to do that now, we would not have done it, you know, or back then we would not have done it. It's just crazy because like I didn't think nothing of it. We were just going to a tournament because we wanted to play, and then I'm like, yo, let me record all this stuff, and then that happened.
There you go, man.
And then, and I feel like once that clip happened, everything just kind of went crazy after that. All our videos start getting more traction.
Yeah.
You just never know.
I heard, as a little bit of an aside before I wrap up, I heard that the reason why that combo was so hype, I don't know if this is true or not, was that like they were practicing that combo, but then he hit the shine up smash instead of just up smash on the combo.
No, yeah, you're right. I'm sure. I don't know if you talked about that with Phil, but like usually initially when they did the combo, it was just up smash in the knee.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't know what compelled Mitchell Tang to shine up smash, but it made it way crazier. That's why everybody was like, what? And then they landed the knee. So that was at the time. I mean, that's a hard combo to get even now.
Yeah, that shit was hype still, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I feel like that's a hard combo. If you did that shit right now, it'd be hard. But especially back then, that was like unheard of. So yeah, that was a big part, the shine up smash, just because it was just like an extra input.
Man,
he just did it.
That's so sick how it all led up, like just gas prices going down. So Joe Biden, I know you're listening to this. I'm sure you're watching Items On podcast. Lower the gas prices so we can make more memories.
Right. I saw him dip, man. I don't know. Wait, what state do you live in?
Michigan.
Okay, so gas. Yeah, I'm in Ohio, so gas isn't too bad in the Midwest, bro. I went back home like a couple months ago. Oh my goodness.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, and that shit was like almost $6 in California. I was like, God damn, it's like double.
Yeah.
So
my dad's a gas station manager out in Washington State, and he was like, yeah, gas is like touching $5 right now or whatever. California is different though. California is different.
Yeah. West Coast in general, I remember when I drove from Oakland to Ohio to live, that was like probably one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Damn, dude.
And as I was driving, it was like, it was 550, then 5, then 430, then it just kept getting lower.
Yeah, it's like a countdown.
Yeah, by the time I was in like, I don't know, like Oklahoma, bro, it was like 2 something. I'm like, dude, what? Then it kind of went back up when I went back when I went up north, but yeah, it was wild. But basically, I guess I should say that as a way to like, for all of you young players too, who like, you don't know where to start. I would just say like, put yourself out there and take opportunities because like, if we never went to that tournament, we didn't know what was going to happen. So, if you see a moment in front of you where you can go to an event or there's a net play tournament you want to enter, but you're kind of skeptical about, you're nervous, I would definitely enter, man. Just take those chances because, chances are you might get washed or whatever, but say you meet somebody at a tournament who you could end up meeting one of your best friends, you could meet your future spouse, you don't even know. Just I would just say take a chance to like just put yourself out there and like just go to the whatever event you can, or just be in whatever situation where you have to like interact.
Yeah. I guarantee you that unless if you're, acting like a dumbass, I guarantee you if you come in with some respect and you show some love to people, it's gonna pay off joining the.
Oh
Melee
yeah,
scene.
100%. Yeah, you'll be all right, and you'll meet some dope people too in the process.
Man, it's been an honor. You don't have to hear it from me that you're a legend. So thank you so much for joining. I could ask you questions all day, but this has been super fun, man.
Likewise, man. I mean, thank you for having me. I'm always willing to do this again, man. So whenever you want me back on,
I'm down.
You ask some more questions. I'm down whenever, man. I'm pretty much. I'm usually free around this time, so.
I'm down, man. Well, we need to get you out to Michigan, come to maybe a Bodied or something like that, man.
Yeah, man.
It's hype out here.
Yeah, we could do it in person, man. Like I fuck with Michigan heavy. I haven't been outside of Big House. I've never been to like a Michigan tournament.
Oh, bro, you have to go to a bot. Right now, our regionals are Bodied. Shout out to Coin, the TO, one of the best TOs I think in the Midwest. You gotta come out to that. Michigan's a fun time, bro. We're chill. It's a dope
I like
scene.
Michigan. Michigan's super dope. I'm super down, man. And it's not far. So like, it's only a couple hours. So
yeah.
I mean, we got the Big House in like 2 hours or something. 2.5 hours.
It's quick out there, bro.
Yeah, from Cleveland it's mad close. So yeah, let me know, man. If y'all want me out there for a Bodied or something, come commentate, do an in-person thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Dope.
I'm down, bro. We'll set it up, man. This has been Items On. My name is Ethiopium. Today's guest was HomeMadeWaffles. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you all have a great night.
Yeah, you guys have a good night. Thank you.